Hello everyone, this is Brady from Nat&Brad, and today I was driving home from work and I got to thinking about one of my favorite multiplayer games. The game in mind is the perfect mix of fun, whether that be with solo gameplay or with friends, and can be super infuriating when things don't exactly go your way. That game is none other than Dead by Daylight. Well, today I want to share my thoughts with you guys on this game for the Nintendo Switch platform, where I think it should be and where I hope it goes. Let's get into it. So I'm sure at this point everyone is at least slightly familiar with Dead by Daylight. For those of you who aren't, Dead by Daylight released for PC in 2016 and eventually made its way over to consoles the following year. Dead by Daylight is an asymmetrical team-based multiplayer horror game where the objective is for a team of survivors to repair 5 generators to power on doors to escape while being chased by a killer who is trying to put you on hooks to sacrifice you to a being known as the Entity. The survivors consist of 4 players on a team that play in a third-person perspective, while the killer is a single player that plays in a first-person perspective. The game offers a traditional ranking system as well as skill-based ranking systems. Players are able to earn a type of currency in the game known as blood points to level up their characters and acquire items, including other people's perks, assuming that you have them available to purchase on the Blood Web. Players can also earn iridescent shards over grinding multiple hours on the game to buy original characters and perks on the rotating perk tree. As of 2025, there are a ton of different characters, killer and survivors, to play as. The roster is a mix of original characters and characters from various forms of media, whether that be video games, shows, and movies. Some of these characters consist of Alien, Leatherface, Michael Myers as killers, and even Nicolas Cage as a survivor, and soon to be a few survivors from the Walking Dead series. One thing that makes this game super appealing is the fact that there are many characters which each of them have unique perks that give the game a strategic element, whether you decide to play as the killer or survivors. Players have the option to literally play the game how they want. You could team up with your friends and use different combination of perks to assist not only you and your friend, but your entire team. When me and one of my buddies would play, he would use a perk that would reveal the killer's silhouette while he was on the hook, so that I could plan when to save him when the time was right. Then I would have perks that would make my healing speeds quicker on top of the medkit that I brought into the match so that I could heal him and other teammates even quicker, and even myself if needed. There are many perk combos like that to help players come up with the perfect strategy to win games. I have played Dead by Daylight for a while on every mainstream system, and I can say with confidence that the Nintendo Switch version of the game unfortunately is by far the weakest link. Dead by Daylight is very playable on the Nintendo Switch too, but not entirely what it should be. The frame rate is pretty stable compared to the first Switch, but it is still capped at 30 frames. The game looks about as good as a Nintendo Wii game with a lack of quality textures, whether that be in the environment or the characters themselves. The game runs at a native resolution of 720p in both docked and handheld, and it really shows on larger displays. Now, granted, the Nintendo Switch 1 is notorious for being a weaker piece of hardware, even being outdated when it first launched in 2017, so we really had to go into ported games with more tamed expectations with graphics and performance compared to the other mainstream gaming systems. Dead by Daylight was ported over to the Nintendo Switch in late 2019, and even though it came out a few years later, it still had a pretty rough launch. Take it from me, I was crazy enough to buy it on launch for the Switch. Immediately, the game was not received well at all by the players due to its overall performance and graphics. I tried my best to enjoy it for what it was, but eventually even I had to throw in the towel and just play the game on another gaming system. Over time, however, the game was improved and ran decent on the system, but as an active Nintendo gamer, I would like to see this game really shine, utilizing the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware capability. I believe that this game can have a complete makeover with better textures and perhaps increasing the resolution and frame rate to a crisp 1080p 60 frames, or, if need be, keep the native resolution at 720p, and utilize the NVIDIA DLSS technology to upscale the game to 1080p, if that's what it takes to maintain a stable frame rate. If they were to go this route, it's plausible to believe that since the game would be running in a lower native resolution, they could up the quality of the textures a little more than they could if they had the game running at a native 1080p. One thing that we always have to keep in mind though regarding graphics, and I know that I'm sounding like a broken record here, but we have to remember that even the Switch 2 is not near as powerful as the other current gen systems. So we have to go into this with more realistic expectations. If we start thinking that the Switch 2 is going to run Dead by Daylight, or any semi-modern third-party game for that matter, in a native 4K 60 frames, well, then we may be hovering on the unrealistic side. Now, with all of that said, I still think it's very possible that the developers will at least consider making a Switch 2 version due to the other ports of the game getting a next generation update. One really good thing about this studio, in my opinion, is how consistent they are with supporting this game. At the time of this video being made, the last time the Switch version of Dead by Daylight was updated was late June 2025. I find myself wondering how many active players are using the Nintendo Switch to play this game, and though there seems to be no way to get a definitive number on that, I'm going to assume that it's not near as many as the other systems, including the PC. I think if the developers really wanted to, they could vastly increase the amount of players by finally releasing a quality port of this game for the Nintendo platform. If done correctly, you could not only have a phenomenal port of this game, playing it in the traditional console way, such as, like playing on the couch with a controller using your television, but also in handheld. I would absolutely love to be able to play this game on the go. Maybe we could see the developers come up with some kind of gimmick that would utilize the Joy-Cons. Look at what Cyberpunk did, for example. Mouse mode, all of that cool stuff. And even the Switch 1 version of Skyrim, for example, being able to detach the Joy-Cons and swing them around for more immersive gameplay. There's all kinds of things you could do with this technology, and I believe that the developers could utilize the hardware to come up with something really cool like that. If we got this upgrade to this game, we could potentially see a surge in players. It wouldn't be a make or break surge, but nonetheless a surge. Personally, look, I see tons of potential here, right? But for the time being, it's a waiting game, but unfortunately, I'm very impatient, and I would like for there to at least be an announcement. Come on, developers, make it happen. Let's go. Now, to sum it all up, I think Dead by Daylight is one of the funnest multiplayer games out there right now, and has been for a long time, and in my opinion, it really needs some love and care on the Nintendo side. I truly believe that there's potentially an audience in the making with this much needed next gen upgrade, and I anxiously wait for a much hoped for announcement. But anyway, folks, that is my take on this topic. What do you guys think? Should the developers take time to make a Switch 2 port? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the content, please hit those like and share buttons. And if you didn't, smash that dislike. That's always welcome also. And as always, take care, and I will see you guys in the next one.